The science behind game difficulty. Firstly, I need to preface this with an introduction. Hello, I'm Dod. And in case you're unable to tell, I'm not a scientist. Although I do have a science degree, it's in zoology, not psychology or in game development, which is largely going to be the focus of this video. For those of you that know me and have followed me for some time, you should see many links to the Division 2, which is the underlying point of this video, though I will not be hanging on that point in this video, as the topic itself seemed like a fun little project for me, just to put my research cap on, immerse myself in note-taking and a little bit of learning. For this, I split this topic up into what I hope are easily digestible segments that, with a little luck, will convey the overall point on why having varying degrees of difficulty, as difficulty comes in many different forms, is not only a good thing, but straying too far from them can directly damage the performance, longevity and population of your game. These segments are types of difficulty, hard fun, human experience, caveats such as age, stress, illness, hot topics and influence, as well as a conclusion. So, onto the first topic, types of difficulty. For many of you, I imagine right now you're picturing Souls-like games, from Soulsborne to Elden Ring, Cuphead to Hollow Knight, and many more, many more, too many to list in fact. And although these are probably the truest form of difficult games, have you ever stopped to wonder why these are so highly revered? Games that quite literally appear to be designed to make the player suffer, but that is not always the case. Then you scratch the surface just a little bit deeper. Difficulty also leads into one of the truest tests for a developer: game balance. To get a grasp on this, I will list some varying types of game difficulty and briefly overview how these can affect your game. Random number generator, or RNG. To many, this won't really line up with your particular notion of difficult. However, we are talking about games, of which there is a certain amount of code that determines how X thing is going to act. That code could follow a sequence or pattern, meaning that a typical RPG enemy may attack in a sequence of attack 1, attack 2, attack 3. Repeat. This is pretty easy to deal with, or proactive play. After observing for a few seconds, you will, without a shadow of a doubt, know what is coming next. Add in a small amount of RNG and we may get attack 2, attack 1, attack 3, attack 1, attack 1, attack 2, attack 1, attack 3. This adds uncertainty and encourages reactive play. RNG can also apply to the stat or roll on varying drops, loot or general rewards. If you have X% chance to get a certain item from Y quest, it is not set in stone that completing this quest will always give you this item. Although this is generally implemented to increase the longevity of a game, how many times as a player have you said this item is hard or difficult to get? Add in your desired profanity where you see fit. RNG is not something that often is associated with difficulty, but it is certainly a factor towards it, often leading to burnout, lack of desire, or just general unwillingness to jump through the tireless hoops to get a certain thing. This is mostly seen in looter games, ARPG such as Diablo, Path of Exile, Destiny, etc. Grind. The grind is real. It is often a term used by many ARPG or looter game players. Typically in games like this, there is a certain level of power that is expected in the end game. Perfect example, love it or hate it, Diablo series. Once you hit a certain point of these types of game, your character is unto a god, often seeing damage numbers into the multiple billions. The difficulty part here is not so much that the gameplay loop or the play itself, but more the acquisition of increased stats. As a former Diablo 3 player myself, spending many hours in game trying to farm certain items or indeed levels to get that measly 0.1% increase, at times more like feels a chore than anything else. The grind is the measure of difficulty implemented to increase game longevity. Scaling. This is typically the easiest one to grasp, as it is as simple as a level 10 enemy is stronger than a level 1 enemy. Of course, if you're good enough, Have the resources, the potions, the ammo, the materials, and most importantly, the willingness to fail a few times to get that sweet, sweet victory. This type of difficulty adds, if done right, some of the best player enjoyment, clear goals, and easy to understand sense of progression. That feeling that you really are going somewhere. This type of difficulty is one of the main reasons people actively use video games as a source of escapism. Now, I'm not trying to hit a nerve or point fingers, but typically you will find that those who struggle with a sense of self-worth in their jobs or in general lives will often lose themselves in the evenings within a game, Skyrim being one of the best examples. Player choice. This is a strange one, often seen in visual novels or story-rich roleplay, and honestly, the literal best example I can give here is Heartbound. A game where everything you do, every choice you make, has a positive or negative effect on the overarching story. Some choices will make some areas easier to get through, others more difficult. Too often, in modern gaming, we are presented with rather linear games. Go here, pick up rock, come back. What if the very first thing you do in a game changes the entire experience? What if on your second playthrough you make an entirely different choice? Are you still playing the same game? Now, many of us are used to choosing a build or playstyle within a game, a certain loadout, favourite weapon or class. These are not unfamiliar, but sometimes this choice can prove difficult. Choosing X over Y will give a benefit to A but a negative to B. Does choosing one thing over another give more pros or cons? Many of us, once we are fully immersed into a game, now autopilot our way through this choosing. However, think back to your early days of gaming, Pokemon Red, Blue and Yellow being brilliant examples. Now, knowing that the first gym leader is Brock, a rock-type master, who do you choose? Charmander, Squirtle or Bulbasaur? Rock is weak to both water and grass, but only takes half damage from fire. Ergo, picking Charmander will give a negative effect on your play, at least up until the first gym leader. Sadist, masochist. If you do not know what this sort of difficulty is, then feel grateful. To put it simply, this encompasses games like Dark Souls, which, rather humorously, got its name when Miyazaki, the creator of Dark Souls, said in an interview, "I'm a huge masochist, so when I make games like these, this is how I want to be treated." To put it simply, these are games that are designed to punish the player. Many others fall into this type of difficulty, from Cuphead to Monster Hunter. This is potentially the most notable type of difficulty, as it is genuinely the only one that has spawned its own gaming genre or subcategory, the Souls-like. Hard fun. This is going to be difficult to understand for many people, and if you're one of those, science actively says you need more challenges in your life. Now, this is where I may hit a nerve, but please bear with me. If the activity you are personally pursuing is, to you, just fun, then I regret to inform you that there is no scientific backing or even logical basis for just fun. What is actively happening here is naught but a distraction. Now, on the surface, this is not all bad. A distraction from the stresses of life. Sign me up. An activity that diverts both mind and body from the boredom and stresses of life sounds like a 100% win to most. That being said, hard fun is an activity that not only acts as that distraction, again, both mind and body from the boredom and stresses of life, but also teaches you how to deal with that boredom and that stress next time it arises. What we are encroaching on here is game-based learning, which takes many forms, from team-building exercises like a game of football to communication and expression like theatre. Though fun itself is a complex subject, and while offering some great benefits both physically and psychologically, you must always remember that fun in of itself is utterly subjective. One of the largest contributors to hard fun over just fun, or indeed easy fun, however, is motivation. University XP, a site for game-based learning, describes hard fun as, it's strange to think about it, if something is fun, then it shouldn't be hard, right? Not true. Hard fun is what really defines games and how they draw players. Hard fun is challenging and difficult. Hard fun is hard to excel at, but when we do, we feel exhilarated. Much more than we feel when we pursue easy fun. Hard fun is the heart of flow state and motivation for players to pursue challenges in games. Like games, life is full of hard, fun challenges. We better excel at these the more we feel validated and accomplished in life. To put it simply, hard fun is one of the greatest drivers and largest contributors to success. As aforementioned, life is filled with challenges. Some challenges are either not instantly met or immediately gratifying. For when instances like these come about, we can find ourselves in a slump. If a person has an outlet that is hard fun, they may seek that elation of achievement in this process. Didn't meet your work quota? Okay, how about we beat that boss? Finally. Didn't get promotion? Not a problem. Let us grind 10 more levels to hit the next checkpoint. Couldn't get your favourite chicken sandwich from the cafeteria at lunch? Not a problem. Let's finally uninstall Black Desert Online. Although these may seem silly or small compensation for real-world issues, what you're not seeing is the opposition or tactic to each issue. To hit a work quota requires dedication, perseverance, and the willingness to fail a few times and not let it get to you. Game and player dependent, but how many of you have failed a boss 3 times and then just quit, exclaiming, "Stupid game"? So let's work on that dedication. That perseverance by getting back in there and fighting this boss. So what if you fail? This means you've learned something. I once heard a rather interesting quote, though I'm not sure if it's true. However, when Tom Edison created the light bulb, it took him over 200 attempts. When asked why he failed over 200 times, he replied, "I did not fail. I learned 200 ways how not to make a light bulb." Often, to get a promotion, you need to go above and beyond. Excel to show your employers that you are a worthwhile investment, that you can manage your own time, complete tasks within a timely manner, and encourage others to push for the heights as well. Grinding levels in an infinite level game, again like Diablo 3 or indeed Division 2, is a lot like this. Now, I should state that I'm not saying you should completely and utterly replace your real life responsibilities and social standing just to seek elation in a video game. My point here, simply, some activities in games can mirror our own experiences in life, where in one we may fail, but you can use the other to pick ourselves back up and try at the original with a clearer and more focused goal. This then also leads directly and rather neatly into the next subject, the human experience. Like it or not, we are all human, and as individual as we all are, there are certain aspects that we are the same. Minus those with some unfortunate medical conditions. Now the main focus in this segment is going to be the hormone called dopamine. Dopamine is actually rather complex. It has roles within your body to control memory, mood, sleep, learning, concentration, and movement. Though we are going to be keeping this on the topic and just focus on the psychological and emotional areas of this wonder little hormone: pleasure, satisfaction, and most importantly, motivation. Oh, there's that word again. Why is motivation the most important? Well, to put it simply, if you're not motivated to seek pleasure, you won't feel it. If you're not motivated to do the activity that will give you the satisfaction when it is completed, you won't do that activity. This directly leads into our types of difficulty at the start of the video. You spend weeks grinding that one mission for that one item that only has a 5% drop chance. You want it. It will instantly make your build or your gaming experience so much better. Maybe the item is insanely powerful. Maybe it's the last item you need to complete your achievements in game. Maybe it's the last thing you need for your theory crafted dream to come true. Or maybe it's just quite simply you are a collector and this is the last thing you need. Either way, you are motivated. You will get it. It's been weeks. Balancing social life, work and gaming, you complete the mission. You open the rewards. And there it is. Elation. Sweet, sweet nectar. That boss that's been troubling you for days, he has that one attack as soon as he enters phase 2 of his boss fight. Every single time he annihilates you with that one attack, you decide for no reason whatsoever to try a different timing. Boom! You've got him. Grind. Akin to part 1 under RNG, though what if this time you want to do the game's raid or dungeon with your friends? You're all on different time schedules, rarely online at the same time. You all check your calendars and find out in 3 weeks' time you are all off of work at the same time and decide this is the time. This is your moment. On this day, 3 weeks from now, you and your friends will finally team up and give it your all to finally Leroy Jenkins the ever-living hell out of that raid. During those 3 weeks, you all research what is needed. You need 2 healers, 2 tanks, 2 crowd controls and 2 DPS. You go your separate ways, setting who will take what role, and you grind for those builds. You have 3 weeks. You will make this happen. 3 weeks passed. What if one of you suddenly, due to unforeseen circumstances, can no longer make it? What if you all get to the raid, but you fail it, and after hours and hours of attempts, weeks of grinding, you decide to give up and try again another time? Then, what if you smash that raid? All 3 of these are emotional states that are little hormone, dopamine, rattling around in your head have a direct part in. Someone can no longer make the raid, no matter, you all have the bills, you just need to wait. There will be another time. You got into the raid, but it was harder than you expected. Perfect, a challenge. With some practice and fine-tuning of builds, victory will be yours, just not today. You smashed it, yes! 3 weeks of hard grind paid off. You managed to work independently as well as a team. You later find out that one of your team recorded the entire experience so you can upload it to YouTube and get a sponsorship from Raid Shadow Legends. Scaling. You want to be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is your real test. To enslave them is your cause. Power. Jet Dragon. The true mark of the current endgame. A pesky dragon that scoots around on magical fart dust at the foot of a volcano. You want him. You need him. He will be an excellent addition to your party. Not just in terms of strength and power, but in mobility and exploration. There is just one small issue. He's level 50, at the foot of a volcano. And although you're no geologist, you do know from that one time you boiled a kettle that volcanoes are rather hot. And try as you might, beating that level 30 Mammorest was certainly a chore. You are not too certain on your abilities to fight a level 50 dragon. Strong though you may be, you're no Night King, more mid-afternoon court jester. So you play the long game. You expand your base, catch more pals, expand your search area, get those levels, catch more pals to play the type advantage. Dragons are weak to ice. You learn that there's a magical ice pony called Frostallion that will be perfect for this, and that ice is weak to fire. We have a plan. Wixen turns all of your damage to fire, and one of the strongest attack powers in the game, Yormantide Ignis, is also a fire type. Excellent. Cue the Sylvester Stallone training montage. You level up. You practice your rotation switches with Wixen. You get yourself a Yormantide Ignis. You level that up. You practice switching Scorching Snake for Fiery Fox, rotating for maximum health, grinding materials for those juicy legendary balls. Then, after getting your mind out of the gutter, you will get this cold Cabulus, so that you might try your luck with the magical fart dragon that blesses your dreams. Player choice. This can honestly have some of the most sombre tones when it comes to gaming, often forcing the player to feel attached to 2 separate characters, then instructing the player to pick between them. The one that does not get picked, outcast, dead. Do you have to kill them? Do they appear in the game later on after living their happily ever after? Perhaps there are 2 orphans that need immediate saving, but you only have room for one. Save one and condemn the other? Player choice in story-rich roleplay games are often directly implemented to pull on the heartstrings of the player. They are story-rich, after all. Not just for emotional response, they are not there to make you cry, though some do. It's more to show that actions have consequences, even if they are in an inconsequential environment. To treat others how you, yourself, wish to be treated. Or to explore the darker thoughts, let that little voice win from time to time. All of this will trigger a dopamine-induced emotional response. Masochist, sadist. Frustrating, isn't it? Some might say if you have the perseverance to see this screen on repeat, then you are indeed a masochist. And what sort of sick, twisted, sadistic individual made a game like this that not only forces you to struggle through, but mocks you when you inevitably fail? It is at this point that I'd like to share a quote from a film. I'm not sure if it's the original source, but Haunted Mansion. You try, you fail, you try, you fail. But the only true failure is when you stop trying. Sadist masochist games embody this quote perfectly, although from two entirely separate worlds: film and video games, FromSoft and Disney. This does, rather neatly, explain human life as a whole. Your life. Everything we do is a series of attempts. I have tried making this video nigh on 2 weeks now. Failed a few times, though I did not stop. I pushed through. I adapted my usual video style to incorporate a more stable and educational stance, scripting every word and utilising different footage to hopefully add visual and emotional credence to each point being made. It was a lot of work. Hard work. Though the result is one that, for now, I am happy with. Who knows, maybe in a year or so, when I develop my own style further, gain more experience and knowledge in this field, and look back on this video, I may very well cringe. But for now, right now, and now is all that matters, all I can say is my hard work paid off. I have made a video I am happy with. That struggle, that frustration, that boiling inside of you dissipates immediately when you complete the task ahead of you. It's the same for this style of game. The struggle is the point. It's the journey that matters, not the destination, as it were. Although the destination may be a beach on Mali, sipping cocktails at 8 AM, watching the waves crash in on a symphonic yet offbeat rhythm, you will only be there because of the struggle, because you persevered, because you watched that "you died" screen one too many times and decided no, not anymore. Today is the day. Caveats with age, stress, illness, etc. And as with everything, there are issues, problems with everything that, even with concrete evidence, are up for debate. Earlier, I stated, here, meet Bob, the sociopath. Again, I wish to reiterate that I am no psychologist. In fact, I could not think of a worse career choice for someone like me. However, in a study conducted in 2010 by the National Health Institute, it was found that those that have a tendency to lean towards antisocial behaviour lacked the typical chemical response to outside stimuli. To put it simply, everything you do in life, everything, releases dopamine in various amounts attuned differently to allow you to feel differently on different matters: emotional, opinions, likes, dislikes, and even kinks. All of it. Dopamine. However, in those who lean towards the psychopathic tendencies, the little things no longer cut it. Holding hands with a loved one? Nothing. Eating a favourite meal? Nope. So because these small gestures that so many of us find comfort and solace in no longer appease that little spot in our brains that scream, "I need vindication," these people are forced to seek this in more extreme measures. Meaning that all I have said so far in this video means literally nothing. Age. Age is actually a huge factor, and in this department, sadly, I was hard pressed to find a study on this, though it may actually appear that the older generation are far more into games than we are, though these games take the form of cards, checkers, chess, Dungeons and Dragons, and Scrabble. Honestly, after finding an 80+ gaming Reddit, I was shocked to see how many of gaming's old guard organise meet and greets over Scrabble. Scrabble. Before that, looking into 50s and 60s, colony sims, builders and strategy games ran rampant. Total War, Sims, Civilization, Anno, and many more. For those in their 40s, I found mostly turn-based games that force a strategy and resting on the enemy's turns. Essentially, hard fun, just not as fast-paced as many as the current COD generation will be used to. Stress. Here's one I can really let loose in. And if you've ever watched one of my live streams, it should be pretty evident that literally breathing stresses me out. A lot of my speedrunner friends have genuinely created a category called Trigger Dod Any %. So, here is an area where a little bit of honest self-assessment is needed. Using myself as an example, I was in the military, to the point of where half of my personality is, I was in the military. I loved it. Due to an injury, I was medically discharged. This was honestly one of the most heart-wrenching things I have ever experienced. I hated every second of leaving one of the few areas where I felt whole. It applied so much stress to me as a person that nothing, as of yet, feels the same. I still, after being out of service for 2+ years, draw direct comparisons. That wouldn't have happened in the army, blah blah blah. Though I am slowly adjusting. During the immediate process of me leaving my military service, do you think it would have been a wise idea for me to play a game such as Dark Souls? Although there would have been the immediate gratified elation at the end when completing a task, in that state you really do have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? Illness. Now I mean this in all senses, from mental to physical. Some games are pure bliss, while others are go, 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 go. And though I know none of us do, I do feel obligated to add in game responsibly. If you're going through a difficult time in your life, maybe turn the voice chat in Call of Duty off. Maybe call off the raid with your friends. Maybe play some RimWorld, Heartbound, Pokemon. And likewise, if you're ill, no one, and I mean no one, wants to hear you cough and splutter down the mic. Stop coughing or I'll put you in one. On a more serious note, to recover from a physical illness, the main thing your body needs is rest. So rest. That loot drop can wait. That achievement will still be there. Why settle for a bittersweet victory while you are ill when you can rest up and come back with a vengeance in a week or so? There are millions of games out there. Millions. There's only one of you. And I, for one, would rather see you play that game when you are well and rested than struggling through ill and not at 100%. Hot topic and influence. I am sadly of an age where video games have made the media far too many times. I was raised on 4chan and Reddit. I believed I was pro at coding because I had a MySpace. I had a god-awful MSN name. I lived through Gamergate and the trope that games promote violence, which still continues to this day. And as much as I would love to show them all, when researching this video, there are a plethora of studies of the benefits, the negatives, the psychological state, and indeed the long-term health implication of playing video games. So after scouring several different studies, some of which were very clearly biased, I have compiled a list of things that you may be interested in. Gamer couples are less likely to get a divorce. That's right, couples that game together, stay together. Playing games with your children promotes greater emotional growth. This literally just boils down to bonding with your children. And games are a great influence to many youths in the modern day. In short, you're joining them in something they want to do. Playing games increases problem-solving skills. Many games have puzzles, and many puzzle games are critically acclaimed for their devious nature. Solving them can help in real life. We do have that brain trainer game after all. Playing games increases restlessness and can cause insomnia. The issue here is overstimulation. Trying to sleep while you are still high on dopamine after an epic gaming session can be a bit tricky. Personally, I take a cold shower to bring me down. Playing games can deviate to either hyper or hypo responses. Typically this occurs in introverts. In short, the less time you spend with people, the more you forget how to people. Proactive and reactive learning. This is something we actually touched on earlier. However, this is both a positive and a negative. Proactive is you doing something first and then you analyze the response. Reactive is you wait for something else to act and then you respond. The positive here is people tend to gravitate towards one or the other when it comes to learning, so playing games in this way can tell you if you're proactive or reactive and can help promote that style of learning. The negative here, life doesn't always work this way, and you will more often than not need to learn to be able to adapt or at the very least adjust/deal with both. The way you play games can reinforce your certain type of learning so that eventually it may just become difficult for you to adjust to one or the other. If you'd like a great example of this or the negative side of this, just spend 10 minutes on Twitter or X, whatever it's called nowadays. Addiction. Yes, there is such a thing. And yes, you can become addicted to gaming. And this simply just comes down to that little dopamine hormone. It just becomes too adjusted to that little fix when you install the new sultry mod in Skyrim and forgets what real life is. As much as we might joke about touching grass or that IRL has great graphics but the gameplay is terrible, gaming addiction is very real and a very serious threat. So again, game responsibly. On this note, there are many conditions here that are tied up to the games are bad bundle, such as aggression, social anxiety, mental health implications, lack of coping skills, obesity, dopamine addiction, depression, and even psychosis. None of these are actually issues with gaming per se though, and more the overarching addiction side of it. I do find it very strange how the negatives for gaming addiction are the same as gambling addiction or substance addiction, but only those listed under gaming addiction are issues with gaming, while the others are addiction issues. Yet they are still the same issues. For a conclusion, I would just like to start off by stating that the gaming industry is currently worth $224.9 billion United States dollars, as per a census in 2022, and is projected to be worth $610.6 billion United States dollars by 2032. For perspective, the film and entertainment industry was estimated around $95.45 billion United States dollars. The gaming market is huge. We gamers generate more revenue than the film and music industries combined. Though as impressive as this is, it has generated concerns, as with any dominating entertainment industry, it is harshly put under the microscope both by ourselves and others, especially within the media. So, just be aware that you are awesome and you are currently living in the best time to play, make, and influence video games. Just be respectful about it. Now, that being said, game difficulty with a very small circle around to the original point of this video regarding Division 2. Game difficulty in all of its forms comes down to two very simple yet heavy words: aspirational content. If we find a game too hard, we lose motivation and we never get that elation from the completion of the tasks. As such, we say, bad game is bad, and we move on. If the game is too easy, we feel godly for a short time with no motivation to do anything else. So what starts as great fun, or just fun, easy fun, soon develops into I'm bored and now what? Now, as much as the difference between these two is completely subjective, what may be easy for me may very well be too hard for you. We are all individuals after all. This, however, is the mark of a good developer. Balancing a game so that those that wish to challenge themselves can, and also get well-balanced rewards for it. Those that wish to plod along and take the progression route can also do so, while again getting well-balanced rewards. Now on paper, as I sit here and write this script, this sounds so easy. I know, I should work for Bungie or something. It's not. I nor you should be under any illusion that balancing any game to fit a multitude of people from all walks of life and cultures is anything but a stress-filled ball ache. However, if a game were to propose that all players regardless of their skill, are to get an 85% multiplier on their current performance, allowing those that like to push themselves to evaporate all challenges in the game, therefore removing the purpose of playing. And likewise, for those that take the progression route to suddenly shoot up, and through no effort complete the content that they once viewed as aspirational, but with a flick of a wrist. A good thing? Sure, for a time you'll feel godly, you'll love it, but then what? How long till you have achieved all you have wanted to? Now that there is so much more power in your gameplay. How long will you invest your precious time into a game that now offers you very little in terms of motivation? If you are unsure of how to answer this, whatever game you're playing right now, whatever it is that you are enjoying, if it has a difficulty setting, put it on the easiest option. Walk the easy path. Let me know when this route is no longer fulfilling for you. Let me know how long it takes till you can no longer bear the lack of challenge, or at the very least the stagnation at your level or comfort zone. As humans, we, as a general populace, like to be challenged, whether that be through the randomness of life, the ability to learn and progress, seeking new pleasures and wonders, opportunities to grow and adapt, through the choices we make, friends we meet, loved ones we cherish, knowing full well that sometimes life likes to hit back. Regardless of how strong you are, sometimes life just likes to throw you a curveball. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.